All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bristol Motor Speedway. We have now been joined by Ross Chastain to kick off our media availabilities this afternoon in advance of tomorrow's night race for the NASCAR Cup Series. We will take questions for Ross. If you have one, raise your hand. We'll get to as many questions as we can. And to kick us off, we'll start with Stephen.
Stephen Toronto, CBS Sports. Ross, last week was your first top 10 finish since New Hampshire. It seemed like things had kind of, not taken a nosedive, but kind of tailed off in August after the Pocono race. What do you attribute getting back in the top 10 to, and how do you feel the pace of your team is now compared to maybe where you were at the tail end of the regular season?
I feel like the pace has not left us a lot of mistakes on my part, and then just racing, stuff that's going to happen just all piled on for 2 months in a row there. But the pace never left, and we never questioned that. It was just a matter of me not messing up and speeding on pit road or freak debris in the drive pin holes at Darlington, just crashing, like eliminating that. And when we don't crash and hit stuff, then we're run seventh.
Right. Thank you.
All right. What a question. Yes.
Mark Garrell, PRN. Ross, you certainly had ideas in your head what it would like to be in the playoff before you got in the playoff. Now you're 2 races deep. Anything surprise you about the intensity or the feelings or different things that you've gone through during these first 2?
A lot of surprises, and I won't sit up here and tell you that it feels like the rest of the season, because it doesn't. It's different, and I know that small mistakes can lead to ending our chance to run for a championship. So these races, 3 at a time, 3 rounds each, do mean more. Like it does. So I'm not immune to that, but going, leaving Daytona and Monday morning of Darlington, I was amazed at how normal it felt. And then I thought, well, it's going to come later in the week. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all felt so normal. Race day morning, that was tough. That was, stayed down in Florence at a hotel, and the drive over to the track, just a lot of nerves. And then once I got into the rhythm of coming and doing stuff like this, meeting with sponsors, team meeting, lunch, dinner, then it's normal. But that morning, and it was these races are later in the day, so the mornings, and I'm curious to see how tomorrow feels, but the morning of Darlington all the way until really I got in the hauler and started my normal, race day routine of meetings and appearances, felt different. Looking back on it, it's cool, but in the moment, it doesn't feel good.
I was going to say, did you feel like going into the playoff you could handle it, hey, it's just another race, and you found out you couldn't? Or did you feel like going in you knew it was going to be different?
I feel like once we got into the rhythm of Darlington and Kansas, we handled it. We did everything we needed to do. And, you can look back and see things that could be done better, but we're all experiencing this for the first time. Myself, my crew chief, Phil Surgeon, my spotter, Brandon McReynolds, none of us have, even just us 3, have never been in this position in our current roles. So I expected the week leading up to it, the days leading up to the race, to be harder to get through, and they were actually more normal than I anticipated. And then I kind of calibrated to that, and then race day was like a flood of emotions. So, at the end of the day, I'm right where I've always wanted to be, and realizing that it all kind of hit me on each race day. So it's really cool, and I'm trying to experience all this as much as I can, but it's also scary at the same time.
All right. Thanks, Mark. We'll go to Jordan and then Claire, and we'll come up front to Bob.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. With this being Bristol, a short track, and the first cutoff race of the playoffs, I'm wondering if you're going to be maybe ask your team to keep you more aware of other drivers around you tomorrow night in case there's any fallout from any incidents earlier this year.
Well, if there's any fallout, I'll be the first to know. they're not going to be able to tell me before it happens. So.
No, but I mean, if you got somebody behind you though, I mean, are you going to want to be aware of that?
I'm aware of everything going on around the number one car at all times, especially with these new rear-view cameras. I tell Brandon McReynolds all the time, like, you better, spotter union up there better put in a petition to get these things out of here because they're nice and you can see everything. So, yeah, I'm aware, and I know all the, we went through all the point situations of finishing positions through each stage, so we reevaluate through each stage, but it doesn't even need to be said. I have a good enough working knowledge, I feel like, to caution comes out for stage break, we see who got points, and I'm going to know ballpark how it's updating. I don't need a readout every stage. So, yep.
All right, next we'll go to Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. So it's interesting because you have 5 starts with a 1 top 15 finish, average finish here, 26.800, 30th best. However, with the next-gen car, you can kind of throw some of the stats out the window because a lot of the teams don't know what to expect here. We might see somebody who we never expected to finish well. Do you wipe that out of your mind? What do you know what to expect of the car here? And, how much do you even rely on what your stats have said so far here?
Yeah, I mean, when I look back at my cup races here, especially like this is a good example, with Premium Motorsports for most of those races, aside from last year with the 42, it was, my goal was to finish a single-digit number of laps down. So that's 9 laps down to the leader or less. That was the challenge. That was the goal, was to keep it to 9 or less. Don't be double digits. And so, the things I learned through those races are invaluable. I could never learn that in a fast car. How to get lapped 9 times, 8 times, whatever, 7 times, that's hard to do. I wouldn't trade those days, but also, I'm in a totally different space now. So transitioning to that has been hard. Y'all have witnessed it firsthand, right? My transition from slow cars in the Cup Series to fast cars, and you've seen my mistakes along the way. So I take all those past races, even though the finishes don't show, but there was times where I crashed on lap 1 because I was too close to the field and I piled into a wreck when someone spun off a 4. And there's other times where I did the right thing and I stayed back and finished the race. So finishes aside, a lot of times 30th, 29th was the win. That was our goal, or 25th. You're on 25th in the 15 car back then, and it was, you've done your job. And so I know a lot of people look at averages, and my average now will always be skewed with those early years. And whether at the end of my career I go back to a car like that, I don't know. But for right now, I'm going to keep upping my average to where it's supposed to be. But it'll always be skewed because of those, and I wouldn't trade that for the world.
And real quick, how long do you think it will take for you to get the feel of the next-gen car on this track? Since everybody seems not to know, will it take the whole race? Will it take part of the? How quickly can you assess it, do you think?
Well, I hope I can assess it faster than some people can turn off music on their phones. Practice is going to be wild. I think that looking at what the Wheel Force cars did, all 3 manufacturers spun out and all 3 blew tires, so separate of each other, separate of the tire blowouts to the spins were all, from what I was told, and I know the Chevy one did both. So, I'm not going to be upset if we're not the fastest because we're probably not right on the ragged edge of, air pressure and tires blowing. So we need solid runs. So and then driving with these, shocks and the way they bottom out, and you saw us at the beginning of the year just spinning out kind of every practice. I could see that happening here. It's going to be an experience, and we haven't ran here in this concrete configuration in a year, so it really feels like, to me, the unknowns of it feel like the races early in the year when we went to the first mile and a half and each track for the first time. This is our first time with the new car coming to Bristol. You can't count the dirt experience. It's going to drive so different.
All right, we're going to come to Bob and then Nate. Go ahead, Bob.
I'm Bob Pockers, Fox Sports. At 26 points above the cut line, do do you play this a little bit conservative because of the unknowns? Do you say, hey, let's not try to do anything that we feel like could potentially cause a wreck in practice and put us in the back?
Yeah, I think I think of course you never want to crash in practice, and especially this year with these cars, you don't want to crash. So I think that yes, the simple answer is yes, but I still want to go fast. And I know I say I don't want to be the fastest in practice, but I do. I want to be the fastest. I want to qualify on the pole, and I want to lead 500 laps. So there's going to be certain situations, though, that it's going to be in my best interest to not insert myself.
All right, Bob. Nate, go ahead.
That's right. Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Following up on Mark's question earlier, Ross, about first time in the playoffs, we often hear that this is the time of the year when teams step it up, and we've seen at Chicagoland or Vegas, top 10 speeds are all playoff guys or top 10 finishers. But it seems like non-playoff driver wins Darlington, and it changed a little bit at Kansas, but it doesn't seem like we've seen as much dominance from the playoff teams that we've seen in past years. I'm wondering, your perspective on that, your first time in the playoffs. Have you noticed from your competition that's in the playoffs that they found another gear, or is it different this year with the car?
It's different. This car has reset that whole thing where you can't bring different headers here. You can't bring a new aero package. You're trying to maximize everything, but we all have the same parts. You can't build a new right front spindle and save it for the playoffs, and you can't build, bring different brake pads that they've found in testing to be better and bring them now. There's nothing else to bring. We all order the same stuff, and this has been the greatest reset this sport has ever seen, ever. From the very first race, you could build a better car. Now you can only assemble a better car. We all build off the same control arms, chassis, body panels. We all scan them in our Hawkeyes, and we bring them here, and we try not to let the sun hit them, and we get them through tech, and then we race them, and they're so equal. It's been the greatest reset. So there's geometry and setups, but you're just moving stuff around on the car. You can't bring different materials because we all buy the same stuff.
Gotcha. Thanks. And then one quick one. Just a lot of people obviously point to this track or Martinsville as the place where we might see paybacks, but especially given the current points situation and only Bell having locked into the next round, do you think will guys be on so many different agendas tomorrow night that it sort of lessens the potential for guys worrying about hey, I got to get this guy back or this guy back?
I can't speak for what other people are thinking. I just know that I hit the wall nice and hard at Pocono, so I don't think track or speed matters.
All right, our next question will go to Jeff, Allen, and then Kelly. Go ahead, Jeff.
What was your perspective of the thing that happened last week with Bubba and Harvick when Harvick ended up hitting the wall?
Yeah, I got tight under Bubba. We were super close to each other and didn't lift in time and didn't leave him enough room. Forced him in the wall, and we got off of each other right before he hit the wall, but it was still my fault. And I think on that part, Harvick, no, I think that's the air of these cars. And I felt bad. I apologized on the radio, but when I watched it, I'm like, I can't control the cars behind us. I feel terrible that happened, and obviously one of my heroes. I don't want an action in the middle of 3 and 4 to cause a wreck on the exit, but yeah, could have given more room, especially looking back at lap 30 something for sure.
So when something like that happens, you didn't have any contact with Harvick, but yet, of course, everybody doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt at this point based on other incidents, and so you get blamed for this or whatever on social media. Is that fair? Do you pay attention to that? That your reputation and anytime you're anywhere near something, it's like Ross,
I do know. I do hear it, and I do get it sent to me. But it does not bother me that a tweet will go out right from somebody and it names Harvick and me and leaves Bubba out. It's like, why, right? Why does it have to be skewed that way? But it doesn't bother me. I just see it, and okay, now I understand that's where that person, how they view it, right? And that's what's so great about social media is that everybody's opinion is instantly out there. And whether somebody has 0 followers or 300,000 followers, it does not matter. Their tweet is going to go out, and then people can take it for what it is. And all it takes is a free download of an app, and it's out there. So it doesn't bother me. It's just good to know, and it's good to have your kind of head to the ground and hearing that stuff. And as we all coexist through this sport, it's good to know where people stand and how they view things. And a lot of times, social media can tell you a lot about a person. I know a lot of people call it a highlight reel, but you can tell a lot about by how somebody talks and how they kind of characters they use on there.
Okay, we'll go Alan and then Kelly. Go ahead, Alan.
Alan Cavana, PRN. There's no early consensus whether the Cup guys will shift or not. Can you tell me, or just explain what kind of factors go into whether you shift at a place like Bristol, and if so, is that difficult?
Super difficult. Yeah, I tried it this week in the simulator. It's possible, I think. I don't think it's going to be necessary, but I also didn't think it would be necessary at Martinsville, and it was every lap. I didn't think it would be like it was at the Clash, and it was. So I don't know that we slow down quite enough, but we're not expecting a ton of tire fall off. But if it does slow down enough, I could see late in the runs, if we still have good forward drive, start trying. I mean, guys were doing it at Kansas that were really tight. Like, it's wild. I never even thought about it at Kansas, but some guys are a little more open-minded to that than me, and I'm usually a little late to the game. They have to tell me they're doing it, then I have to kind of work up my confidence.
And again, I don't know race cars as well as you do. Is shifting help with speed or handling?
Oh. Yes. I mean, yeah, it's gonna help the handling, which is gonna help the speed. So, yep. I don't know how exactly, but it does. I don't understand these transaxles yet enough to know. I've looked at them all apart, but I don't know. I know what a Ford 9-inch or like a solid rear end. I understand the mechanics of that, but these things I'm still learning.
All right, Kelly, go ahead.
Kelly Crandall, Racer.com. So Ross, going back to what you said to Bob about making sure you are conservative or just doing what you have to do, that gives me the sense then that even at 26 points, there's no feel of being safe or comfortable with that advantage on the cut line.
No, it's the Cup Series. These are the best drivers and teams in the world, and we all know the math, and we know the points that need to be acquired, and we just have to go race. So I can't ride around. I can't do anything. I just have to go race. And yeah, you can lose. You can gain and lose points quick, for sure. And stuff happens so fast here that it can change any lap of the 500.
Darlington and Kansas, multiple playoff drivers had problems. Is there any reason to believe Bristol could not be just as wild tomorrow night?
No, there's no reason to think it wouldn't be. It's on this spot on the schedule for a reason. There's a lot of hope that it's the Bristol of the bottom.
All right, Ross, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you spending it with us, and we wish you the best of luck tomorrow night.
All right, thanks. Everybody put your earplugs in. It's going to be loud.